Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In this episode of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, the fighting continues. We can confirm there continues to be very ferocious fighting within the vicinity, both north, west, and east of Dese and Kombolcha. We can confirm now that forces of the Tigrayan army are now proceeding down the B11 highway and north of that location, basically approaching Kombolcha from the northeast. There continues to be forces pressing south along the A2 highway within the vicinity of Solula, and there is also forces continuing to press within the vicinity of Kutaber as well. Now, we have received reports that there has been some fairly intense Abiy loyalist air attacks within the vicinity of Kutaber. We understand that, in fact, cluster bombs have been dropped directly on the town itself. So, if anybody is familiar with what a cluster munition is, it also is a good way to explain some of the attacks near Mekele, where we did not see bomb craters. We saw livestock and agricultural infrastructure burning. And that is indicative of the use of cluster munition. So a cluster munition is simply, think of it as a basically, depending on the size of the bomb, and in many cases they're roughly 500 kilograms or 1,000 to 1,500-pound bombs. And once these bombs are about anywhere from 100 feet to 100 yards or even higher above a certain target, they break open. The actual bomb, the outer casing of the bomb breaks open, and they release anywhere from a dozen to, in some cases, hundreds of small individual munitions, ranging from something the size of a 60 millimeter mortar shell to small, even smaller than an actual hand grenade. And these munitions exit the body of the bomb, and they land all over the area, exploding, and then some actually are set to explode later in the day or days ahead, and some can actually be used to dispense an immediate minefield. So, for instance, if a force was progressing down this road here, and you wanted to lay an immediate minefield, you could do so with the use of cluster munitions. The bomb would break over this target and spread dozens of munitions that could sense someone getting close and then detonate at a certain point later. Most of the time, they're designed to simply explode. There's more advanced versions of cluster munitions in which, for instance, the munitions exit the main body of the bomb and then have an actual infrared seeker on the submunition, which actually looks for armored vehicles and has a rudimentary mechanism on it to actually steer the submunition towards the target and then detonate a shaped charge over the top of that target, thus possibly destroying the armored vehicle in question. In all probability, the Ethiopian military is using Chinese or Russian made cluster munitions that are fragmentation in nature, probably not very advanced. But again, they do the trick. You get over a general vicinity of the area and drop these cluster munitions, and hundreds of these little bomblets all over the place can do significant damage, and it is a morale sapper as well. Having your position being attacked with cluster munitions. So again, in all likelihood, that is what we saw within the vicinity of Mekele. Individuals were asking, well, why wasn't there any craters? Why would we just see a large stack of hay burning and not it be spread all over the place? with a large crater nearby. Well, the reason for that is probably cluster munitions were being utilized. Again, these explode in the air. The individual munitions themselves at times can detonate with a proximity fuse over the ground. Some of them are incendiary munitions, in which they do not really. There's not a huge explosion, but they spread white phosphorus all over the place, and that could be a reason you could be seeing the type of burning that we have seen in these attacks. Now, with that being said, you can usually find components of these cluster munitions that would indicate that they are actively being used, and we have not seen a lot of that as of yet. In terms of video footage or proof, but in all likelihood, given how effective cluster munitions are and they're utilized all over the planet, in all likelihood they're definitely being used in this conflict. But again, the Ethiopian Air Force is confirmed to have bombed directly the city of Kutaber, the town of Kutaber, because Tigrayan Defense Forces had taken over the town and were actually proceeding south of the town. And at this point, there is a high degree of focus by the Abiy loyalist Air Force to continue to try and stifle the advance of the Tigrayan Defense Forces within the vicinity of Kutaber. But again, this is not the only axis of advance in which the Tigrayan Defense Forces are proceeding. They continue to also maneuver their way along the A2 highway within the vicinity of Hike. They also continue to advance now along the B11. So there is at least a three-pronged advance, quite possibly more, advancing on Kombolcha, advancing on Dese, and right now the best way that the federal Ethiopian forces, the Amhara militias, are able to prevent a direct attack on Kombolcha, on Dese, and the continued advance of these forces is with the use of both pre-plotted artillery, meaning they have set up positions around Dese, south of Dese, south of Kombolcha, where they have pre-plotted their artillery tubes once they are aware that the Tigrayan Defense Forces have advanced. For instance, they have gotten to within the vicinity of Kutaber. They then basically launch artillery attacks with these pre-plotted tubes against pre-selected targets once they know the Tigrayan Defense Forces have gotten within that area. And then again, obviously, the use of aircraft. There are a wide range of aircraft being utilized, not just MiGs and Su-27s, fast movers. We understand the Ethiopian Air Force is also using other aircraft as well to try and drop ordnance. And again, you really don't need an advanced plane. You just need an aircraft that has a pylon that you can attach a cluster munition to it, and then that aircraft gets over the target and then drops the cluster munition in question. But we will continue to monitor the situation and report. The fighting is still very heavy. It still continues, and it is a very, very fluid situation as we speak. Have a great day, everybody.